And today's question, Scott, what is it?
Are Mack Wilson and Sione Takitaki the answer at linebacker for the Browns? Both rookies last year had very different seasons. Mack Wilson kind of thrown into the fire when Christian Kirksey was injured. He ended up starting 14 games. Sione Takitaki, if I'm looking at the numbers here, about 105 snaps last season at linebacker. So you have two guys from last season who this new regime felt enough about, or were confident enough in to bring them back and keep them as part of the fold, and not really go out and get a big time linebacker to come in and be someone who's obviously the guy. They got BJ Goodson to come in to be a linebacker, but that's probably it. You draft Jacob Phillips at linebacker out of LSU. So you have not a ton of experience, very young group. And from what we know about defenses now and what the Browns are likely to do, you're probably only going to see two linebackers at a time on the field. So if it is Mack Wilson and Sione Takitaki, is that enough?
Can I give you a decisive maybe? I'm still, I don't want to say I'm bullish, but I'm intrigued by Mack Wilson. I think there's something there. I don't know if it's, the next really good middle linebacker for this team, if it's a guy that can play at a Joe Schobert or Christian Kirksey level. I don't know if that's what he can be.
The best way to get ready to be in the NFL is to play football games. And that is what Mack Wilson did last year. He was thrown into the fire. He did some good things. He did some bad things. I don't think his PFF grade was all that great. Right? I mean, I think he was, I can't remember. Maybe, Scott, do you know off the top of your head?
He was near the bottom. He was 41.7 in overall defense, which is even below replacement level.
Right. So that, that kind of confirms what Nick Saban was talking about, that he really wasn't ready yet. Well, the plan really wasn't for him, obviously, to start 14 games. He was supposed to probably learn on special teams like Sione Takitaki did, and then get a little bit of playing time. But it wasn't able to happen that way. But I think if he's going to be something this year, he will be able to build on what he did last year.
Takitaki's kind of the wild card. He's really the one, when you look at this linebacker group, he's the one guy who's kind of the edge rusher. Everybody else is sort of an interior middle linebacker, inside linebacker type. Takitaki's a guy that was a defensive end in college and then moved back to linebacker his senior year. He's the one guy that kind of you look at and say he can go get the quarterback. So I'm curious if that's going to help him a little bit, that he's sort of is that one dude you can put on the outside and all you have to do is go after the quarterback.
They had high hopes for him when they drafted him. We heard so many good things about what he could do from, just sideline to sideline, his athleticism, his versatility, his playmaking ability, his motor, all the things that we heard about him. Now he's going to probably have an opportunity to show it. And, if the season started tomorrow, you guys, who would you have as the three starting linebackers and where?
I would probably have BJ Goodson in the middle. I'd probably have, if you're going to go with two, I'd probably have Mack Wilson and BJ Goodson out there. Goodson maybe because he is a middle linebacker and used to being in that role, kind of running the show. And Wilson in the hopes that he improves on the experience he gained last year. I think one of the big, maybe not huge surprise, but his inability to carry over what we saw in the preseason, his coverage ability to the regular season. And we mentioned his overall PFF grade. He's also 44.1 in coverage. He really, and that's like 450 coverage snaps. So obviously he's on the field a lot, following a lot of people on routes. He didn't have that play in coverage until near the end of the season against the Cardinals, like you mentioned, Dan. And there was this huge stretch in there where he was not being that guy that you would hope that position would provide. He also had 13 missed tackles, which I think was second most on the team, which is tackling a whole nother issue with this defense this year. But if it started right now, I'd probably say Goodson and Wilson, just because we're not really sure how Takitaki fits into this. We heard that all the linebackers are kind of being cross-trained. I think that's code for we don't know either how this is going to work, and we want to see exactly what everybody else can do. But yeah, I think those are the two guys, Goodson and Wilson.
Yeah, that's sort of where I land too.